The galaxy had grown quiet, but not in peace. It was the silence of fear. For centuries, the Zalkar Empire had ruled without mercy, spreading like a shadow over every star system. Planets fell one by one. Civilizations vanished. Entire species were enslaved, their histories erased, their screams echoing only in the empty void. The word hope had almost disappeared. It was a fragile thing, whispered only in dreams by those who dared to remember what freedom once felt like. At the edge of the outer rim, a small human fleet drifted in the dark. They were ragged, battered from decades of skirmishes and outnumbered by enemies at every turn. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge of the intrepid Dawn, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. Her hand hovered over blinking red dots, the locations of fallen colonies, destroyed worlds, and dead friends. Everywhere we turn. Death, she murmured. Her voice was quiet but heavy, carrying the weight of loss. Her crew looked at her, their faces tired and scarred. Some had not seen their families in years. Some had watched their homes burn while they were helpless in space. Yet in their eyes there was still a spark, a stubborn, dangerous spark that refused to die. Mara knew the Zalkar believed humans were broken, scattered, and weak. They were wrong. Humanity always found a way to fight back. A sudden ping cut through the silence of the bridge. An encrypted signal. Mara's heart leapt. It was coming from a hidden human colony, one believed wiped out decades ago. She felt hope sharp and dangerous stir in her chest. She had thought the galaxy had forgotten them. She had thought they were alone. But this signal was more than a message. It was a lifeline, proof that survival was still possible. Her crew gathered around the comm station. The signal contained coordinates, a map to a secret world full of survivors. The discovery breathed life into their weary spirits. "We're not done yet," Mara said firmly, her voice stronger now. "They think we are. They're wrong. Humanity never gives up." Outside the intrepid Dawn, stars twinkled coldly, distant and indifferent. But in the darkness of the void something shifted. It was subtle, almost imperceptible. A pull, a ripple in the galaxy, as if space itself was responding to the courage of one small species refusing to vanish. Mara did not notice it yet, but somewhere beyond the edge of known space ancient forces stirred, awakened by the will of humanity. The crew worked tirelessly that night, repairing engines, recalibrating weapons, and preparing the ships for the long journey ahead. Each action was small yet significant, a testament to the human spirit. Engineers whispered quietly to one another, laughter and stories of home breaking through the tension like sunlight in a dark room. For a moment hope was tangible, filling the cramped corridors of the fleet with warmth and purpose. Mara walked among her people, touching shoulders, giving nods, meeting eyes that held silent questions. "We may be few, but we are fierce," she said. "We may be hunted, but we are alive. And as long as we breathe, we fight." That night the galaxy seemed vast and cruel, but the humans no longer felt completely alone. A fleet thought lost, a colony thought dead, and a captain determined to defy fate. These were the seeds of something greater. Somewhere in the cold expanse of stars the first ember of rebellion glimmered, and though they did not yet know it, this ember would grow, burning brighter than any Zalkar weapon, igniting hope across worlds and awakening a legend that the galaxy would never forget. For the first time in a long time, the humans dared to believe that even in the darkest corners of space they could survive. Even in the shadow of a galaxy ruled by tyranny, there was still a spark called humanity. The signal from the hidden colony had changed everything. For the first time in decades, humanity felt a fragile glimmer of hope. Captain Mara Voss did not waste a single moment. She ordered the fleet to chart a course toward the colony, navigating through sectors patrolled by Zalkar patrols. Every jump through hyperspace was tense, every scan a reminder that discovery meant death. Yet with each passing hour, more survivors joined them, scattered humans from hidden worlds, smugglers who had evaded the Empire, and even soldiers who had fought alone, thinking humanity lost. The fleet, once small and ragged, began to grow. Ships that had been abandoned or damaged were rebuilt, retrofitted with new weapons and shields. Mechanics worked around the clock, welding, calibrating, and modifying with whatever scraps they could salvage. Engineers whispered in quiet pride as their creations came alive again, firing lasers, cloaking, and maneuvering faster than any Zalkar ship could anticipate. Humanity's resourcefulness became a weapon, each innovation a challenge to the galaxy's so-called invincible rulers. Captain Mara walked the decks of every ship, speaking to her crews one by one. "We may be few," she said, "but we are strong. They may have taken our worlds, our families, and our friends, but they have not taken our courage. They have not taken our hearts. Humanity will not bow." Her words spread through the fleet like wildfire, lifting spirits that had been crushed by years of fear. Soldiers straightened in their uniforms, engineers smiled despite fatigue, and pilots gripped their controls with renewed determination. For the first time, they felt more than survival. They felt purpose. Far away in the heart of Zalcar territory, the alien empire began to sense change. Fleets that had once been quiet now disappeared without a trace. Star systems once under control began to report unusual human activity, and patrols found themselves ambushed in ways they had never imagined. "Impossible," hissed Commander Vrix of the Zalcar High Fleet. "The humans should have been extinguished. They are gone. And yet..." He clenched his claws, rage and fear mixing in equal measure. "They are gathering. They are coming." Within the human fleet, scientists worked on a secret project that could change the balance of the galaxy, the Voidbreaker cannon. It was dangerous, untested, and powerful enough to pierce the shields of the largest Zalcar warships. Every activation risked destroying not only the enemy, but also the humans themselves if even a minor error occurred. Yet the team pressed on. For every life lost, for every world destroyed, the scientists and engineers poured their hearts into creating a weapon worthy of humanity's will. In the nights between jumps, Mara often stood alone on the observation deck of the Intrepid Dawn, staring at the stars. Memories of fallen friends and lost colonies weighed heavily on her. She thought of the humans enslaved, tortured, or erased from existence, and yet beneath the grief she felt something stronger than fear: hope. Hope was fragile, yes, but it was a spark that could ignite the galaxy. Stories of humanity's resilience began to spread even to the oppressed species under Zalcar rule. Whispers of rebellion floated across the void. Small groups began resisting, sabotaging supply lines and rescuing slaves. The humans had become more than survivors. They had become symbols. Symbols of defiance, courage, and the impossible truth that even the smallest light could burn through the deepest darkness. As the fleet jumped from system to system, Mara knew that the real fight was coming. Zalcar would strike back with all the fury of an empire that had never known defeat. But humanity had something that the Zalcar could never destroy: unity, courage, and a stubborn refusal to fade into the void. Somewhere beyond the stars, the first seeds of a human-led rebellion were taking root. And as the humans sailed through the darkness, the galaxy began to feel the pulse of a storm that carried with it the promise of freedom, the roar of defiance, and the unstoppable will of a species that refused to surrender. Mara whispered to herself as she looked at the growing fleet. "Let them come. Let them try. They will see. The galaxy is not theirs alone. Humanity has returned." The human fleet had grown stronger, faster, and smarter. It was no longer a ragged group of scattered ships. It was a force, small yet fierce, moving with purpose through the void. Their first real target was Verax Prime, a Zalcar outpost known for crushing every planet it touched. Intelligence reports suggested the outpost was lightly defended, but the humans knew better. The Zalcar never underestimated themselves. Captain Maravos stood on the bridge of the Intrepid Dawn, her hands gripping the railing as the red glow of the enemy planet filled the viewport. "This is it," she said, voice steady. "Our first strike. Remember why we fight. Remember everyone who cannot be here with us. Fight for them. Fight for humanity." Pilots in the fighter wings tightened their grips on controls, engines humming with anticipation. Engineers and gunners double-checked weapons and shields. The air was tense, electric. Every human aboard feeling the weight of the galaxy on their shoulders. And yet, under that tension, there was excitement, a fire that could not be extinguished by fear or despair. The first skirmish erupted as the fleet approached Verax Prime. Zalcar ships surged forward, dozens of sleek war vessels firing in unison. Beams of energy cut through the darkness, illuminating the void with deadly brilliance. But the humans were ready. They dodged, weaved, and counterattacked, striking with surgical precision. Captain Mara piloted the Intrepid Dawn at the center of the battle, weaving through enemy fire. guiding smaller ships and coordinating attacks. Focus on the flank. She barked over comms. Push them back. Hold the line! The Voidbreaker cannons charged in silence, glowing like stars within the hold of the human battleships. When Mara gave the signal, they fired simultaneously. A blinding surge of energy tore through the Zalkar flagship, piercing its shields and splitting the hull. Explosions rippled outward, sending debris and enemy ships spinning into the void. For a moment, the silence of victory hung in the air, broken only by the cheers and tears of the human crews. But the victory came at a cost. Many ships were damaged, some crew members lost. Mara watched as friends she had grown close to were consumed by fire and explosions. Her heart ached, but she clenched her jaw. Every sacrifice mattered. Every loss gave their victory meaning. Humanity could not falter, not now. Amid the chaos, something remarkable happened. Zalkar soldiers, long used to obedience, began hesitating in the face of human courage. Rumors of humans who fought without fear, who risked everything to save one another, spread even among the enemy ranks. Humanity's spirit was infecting the battlefield, sowing doubt in the hearts of tyrants. After hours of fighting, the outpost was destroyed. Ferex Prime, once a symbol of Zalkar dominance, now lay in ruins. Fires and smoke rose from its surface, visible even in orbit, a beacon to the galaxy that resistance was possible. Humans cheered, hugged, and cried. But Captain Mara remained focused. She knew this was only the beginning. The Zalkar would retaliate, and the real war was yet to come. In the quiet moments after the battle, Mara walked among the wounded. She held the hand of a young pilot whose arm had been blown off. She comforted engineers whose stations had exploded. She whispered words of gratitude, promise, and strength. You survived. You fought. Humanity survives because of you, she said. Above them, the stars seemed to shine brighter. Somewhere across the galaxy, enslaved species felt the tremor of human defiance. Whispers spread like wildfire. The humans were back. They were no longer hiding. They were coming. Captain Mara returned to the bridge, looking out at the horizon of space, her heart heavy yet proud. This is only the first step, she murmured. But from today, the Zalkar will remember one thing. Humans do not surrender. We fight, we endure, and we will rise no matter how dark the void becomes. The human fleet, battered but unbroken, jumped to their next destination. Each pilot, soldier, and engineer carried the memory of Ferex Prime in their hearts, a reminder of courage, sacrifice, and the unstoppable spirit of humanity. The first blood had been spilled, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The destruction of Ferex Prime sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The Zalkar were furious. Their commanders barked orders, fleets were mobilized, and entire sectors were locked down. Yet for the first time in centuries, fear crept into the hearts of the once unstoppable empire. The humans had struck, and they had survived. More than survival, they had triumphed. Captain Mara Voss knew this moment was crucial. The victory at Ferex Prime was a spark, but sparks alone did not burn cities. They needed allies, strength, and a plan. She convened a council aboard the intrepid Dawn, gathering leaders of the human fleet and representatives from oppressed species who had begun to answer the call. We are no longer alone, Mara said, her voice echoing through the chamber. Every species the Zalkar have enslaved, every world they have destroyed, every life they have tried to erase. They will see that resistance is possible. Together we are stronger than they can imagine. Eyes lit up with determination. For some, it was the first time they had dared to hope. For others, it was a chance to fight for vengeance, for justice, for the memory of those lost. Across the fleet, messages and signals poured in. Planets hidden in the shadows of Zalkar control offered their support. Smugglers, mercenaries, and outcasts joined the ranks, drawn by the legend of humanity rising against impossible odds. Training intensified. Pilots learned to weave through the chaos of battle, engineers strengthened weapons and shields, and scientists refined the Voidbreaker technology. Each day the fleet grew stronger, not just in number but in spirit. Humanity had learned that victory was never about the largest armada. It was about courage, unity, and the refusal to give in to despair. Meanwhile, whispers of rebellion spread across the empire. Slaves sabotaged supply lines. Prisoners escaped. Star systems, once silent with fear, began murmuring plans of revolt. Humanity had become a symbol, proof that no empire, no matter how powerful, could crush the will of free beings. Mara watched these reports closely, her heart swelling with pride. Every small victory, every uprising was another arrow aimed at the heart of the Zalkar. Yet the humans did not underestimate their enemy. Mara knew the Zalkar would strike back with full force. Intelligence suggested the alien empire was mobilizing their war fleets, preparing to crush any uprising before it could spread. Humanity faced overwhelming odds once again, but this time they were ready. As the fleet moved through the outer sectors, Mara reflected on the journey so far. The loss of friends, the destruction of colonies, the long nights of fear, all had forged something unbreakable. She looked at the young pilots, the weary engineers, the determined soldiers, and felt hope. Not the fragile, whispering kind, but a roaring fire. Humanity was alive, and the galaxy was beginning to notice. One night, as Mara walked among her crew, she saw a small group of alien allies sharing stories of home with human engineers. Laughter echoed through the corridors, a sound that had been rare for so long. In that moment, Mara realized something profound. The fight was not just for survival, it was for life, for joy, for the right to exist without fear. Humanity was not just resisting, they were inspiring. The fleet continued its journey, moving from system to system, freeing planets and rallying allies. Each victory was a beacon, each battle a story of courage. And while the Zalkar were vast, powerful, and merciless, they could not fight against a force fueled by hope, unity, and the relentless spirit of humanity. Captain Mara stood on the bridge of the intrepid Dawn, staring out into the vast galaxy. "They will try to crush us," she said softly. "They will try to make us disappear. But they will fail. Humanity rises, and this time, we are rising together." The stars stretched endlessly before them, vast and cold. Yet within them glimmered the warmth of countless lives determined to fight. The darkness of the Zalkar Empire had not ended, but it was beginning to tremble. Humanity's light was rising, and nothing could extinguish it. After months of battles, ambushes, and uprisings, the human fleet approached the heart of Zalkar territory, the planet Zaran. It was massive, a fortress world surrounded by endless warships, shielded by layers of energy barriers, and armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. For centuries, Zaran had been untouchable, and now humanity stood at its doorstep, battered, weary, but unbroken. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge of the intrepid Dawn, staring at the planet below. Its surface was a labyrinth of towers, energy spires, and massive fortresses bristling with cannons. Mara could feel the weight of the coming battle pressing down on her chest. This was no longer about survival. This was about ending centuries of tyranny. This was about the countless worlds the Zalkar had enslaved, the billions of lives they had stolen, and the memory of friends who would never see the stars again. Her crew, tired yet resolute, moved with silent efficiency. Pilots ran final checks on their fighters. Engineers calibrated the voidbreaker cannons one last time. Soldiers tightened their harnesses, gripping weapons with white-knuckled determination. Everyone knew what was at stake. This was the decisive moment, the one chance to strike at the Empire's heart before it could crush humanity and the allies they had gathered. Mara addressed her fleet over the comms, her voice firm and steady. "This is it. Zaran is the heart of the Zalkar Empire. Their fleets, their weapons, their command, all lead here. We may be small against them. We may be facing the impossible, but we are human. We fight, we endure, and we do not bow. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is made of." As the humans prepared for the assault, the Zalkar launched their ultimate weapon, a planet-sized annihilator capable of erasing entire star systems in minutes. Mara's stomach tightened as intelligence reports poured in. "They've built a weapon to end everything," whispered Commander Reza, one of Mara's trusted officers. "We have hours before it wipes out fleets and colonies." The human fleet took position, weaving between enemy ships and dodging torrents of energy fire. Mara piloted the intrepid Dawn at the front, guiding the first wave of fighters into the chaos. Every maneuver, every strike was calculated. Every life mattered. They could not afford mistakes. Amid the tension, Mara allowed herself a brief moment to reflect. Humanity had come so far, from scattered survivors hiding in the shadows to a fleet capable of challenging the galaxy's most powerful empire. Every sacrifice, every tear, every lost ship had led them here. And yet the hardest challenge was still ahead. penetrating the shields of Jaren, neutralizing the Annihilator, and defeating the Zalkar commanders who believed themselves invincible. Across the fleet, hope burned fiercely. Engineers whispered prayers over the Voidbreaker cannons. Pilots nodded to one another in silent solidarity, and soldiers steeled themselves for the coming storm. Mara could see it in their eyes. Fear, yes, but also courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that humanity could rise against any darkness. "Prepare for jump," Mara shouted. The fleet surged forward, engines blazing, weapons ready. The stars themselves seemed to blur as they moved through the void, racing toward Jaren like a living wave of defiance. Somewhere deep inside her chest, Mara felt the pulse of something ancient and powerful, the heartbeat of humanity itself. It was not the largest fleet, not the most advanced technology, not even the bravest soldiers that had brought them here. It was the spirit of a species that refused to die quietly, that refused to submit, that refused to surrender even when all seemed lost. As the humans approached Jaren, the silence of the void was broken by the roar of engines, the fire of weapons, and the cries of courage. This was it, the heart of the Zalkar Empire, the final battlefield where hope, courage, and humanity itself would be tested like never before. Captain Mara gripped the controls of the intrepid Dawn, her eyes fixed on the planet. For every world they destroyed, for every life they took, today we rise. The void trembled with anticipation. Humanity was ready, and the galaxy would soon witness what it truly meant when hope refused to fade. The human fleet surged into the heart of Zalkar space, a wave of fire and courage against an empire that had never known defeat. Jaren loomed ahead, massive and foreboding, its surface bristling with weapons that could obliterate entire star systems. Yet the humans did not falter. Every ship, every fighter, every soldier carried the weight of countless lost worlds, and the unbreakable will to fight. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge of the intrepid Dawn, eyes scanning the chaos ahead. Enemy fire streaked through the void, tearing at smaller ships, yet the humans moved with precision, dodging, weaving, striking where it hurt most. Mara's voice rang through the comms. "Hold formation. Target their weapons platforms. Push through." Fighter pilots darted like sparks across the void, weaving between beams of energy, striking enemy ships and protecting one another with fearless coordination. Engineers and gunners worked tirelessly, keeping shields online and cannons ready. Every human knew the stakes. Failure meant the end of hope, the loss of everything they fought for. Yet there was no hesitation. Courage carried them forward. The Zalkar unleashed everything they had. Dozens of warships fell upon the humans at once, firing with precision, trying to crush the fleet before it could reach the planet. But humanity's determination could not be stopped. The Voidbreaker cannons charged across the ships, glowing with raw energy. Mara gave the signal. In unison, the weapons fired, blasting through shields, tearing massive Zalkar flagships apart, and sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Explosions lit the void like new stars being born, smoke and debris scattering across the battlefield. Mara's heart pounded as she guided the intrepid Dawn deeper into the chaos. Enemy fighters swarmed around her ship and she countered every strike, dodging fire, returning it with precision. Each maneuver was life or death, yet she moved with calm determination, her hands steady and her mind sharp. Amid the destruction, human courage shone brightest. Pilots risked their lives to save comrades. Engineers repaired critical systems under fire, and soldiers boarded disabled enemy ships to reclaim weapons and intelligence. Every action, every sacrifice was a declaration. Humanity would not bow. Humanity would not die quietly. The climax came when the Zalkar's ultimate weapon, the planet-sized Annihilator, activated, its energy beginning to pulse, threatening to wipe out entire fleets. Mara clenched her jaw. "We cannot let them fire that weapon." "Prepare for the final strike!" She directed fighters and battleships in a coordinated assault, weaving through the storm of enemy fire. The humans moved as one, a tide of determination and fury crashing against the impossible. At the heart of Jaren, Mara piloted the intrepid Dawn toward the enemy command station, leading a small strike force. Explosions ripped through the station as they penetrated its core, and Mara transmitted a message across the galaxy. "This is for every world you tried to destroy. Humanity stands. We will never fall." The command station erupted in fire and chaos, and the Zalkar fleet faltered. Shockwaves destroyed nearby vessels, and panic spread among the Empire's soldiers. Humanity's audacity had turned the tide. For the first time, the Zalkar faced defeat in the heart of their empire. As the dust settled, Mara looked at the fleet around her. Ships were damaged, many were lost, but the humans still stood. Exhaustion mixed with pride, grief, and relief. They had fought against the impossible, and they had survived. Humanity had not only reached the heart of Zalkar space, but they had also shattered the illusion of invincibility. Mara allowed herself a brief smile, tears forming in her eyes. She thought of fallen friends, of worlds lost, of the countless sacrifices made. And yet, despite it all, humanity had prevailed. They had shown the galaxy what it meant to refuse to bow, to rise when all hope seemed lost. The stars above Jaren shone a little brighter that day. The void, once silent and oppressive, seemed to hum with life again. Humanity had fought, endured, and risen, not as survivors, but as legends. The final battle was over, but the story of humanity's courage and determination had only just begun. The battle was over. Jaren lay in ruins. The Zalkar fleet shattered. Their planet's mighty defenses crumbled into smoking debris. Silence stretched across the void, heavy and profound. The humans floated among the wreckage, battered and exhausted, but unbroken. Captain Maravos stood on the bridge of the intrepid Dawn, staring at the remnants of the Empire that had once cast a shadow across the galaxy. Her chest ached with exhaustion, grief, and a strange, fierce pride. She thought of the lives lost, the brave pilots who had given everything, the soldiers who had fought to their last breath, the engineers who had labored tirelessly under fire. Each name was etched into her memory, each sacrifice a stone in the foundation of humanity's rise. And yet, despite the pain, the humans had triumphed. Against impossible odds, they had shattered the heart of the Zalkar Empire. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it meant to fight, endure, and never surrender. Across the fleet, humans and allied species alike began to repair ships, aid the wounded, and rebuild what they could. Some wept openly. Others hugged friends they feared lost forever. Laughter began to return, shaky but genuine, blending with the hum of engines and the distant crackle of fires burning on Jaren's surface. For the first time in decades, hope was tangible, filling the void with warmth and life. Mara walked among her crew, touching shoulders, nodding at faces scarred by battle, and meeting eyes filled with tears, determination, and relief. "We survived," she whispered, almost to herself. "We survived, and we rise." She looked out at the stars, remembering every world the Zalkar had destroyed, every species enslaved. Humanity had not just fought for themselves, they had fought for every life that had been silenced. Messages began pouring in from liberated systems. Planets that had lived under fear for centuries sent signals of gratitude, relief, and joy. Other species joined the humans in celebration, sharing stories of resistance, courage, and survival. Humanity had become more than a fleet, more than a rebellion. They had become a legend, a symbol of defiance and a beacon of hope. Mara returned to the bridge, her hand resting on the control console. She watched as smaller ships departed to rebuild colonies, carry aid, and protect freed systems. Humanity's reach, once limited and scattered, now spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if recognizing the triumph of courage over tyranny. And yet Mara knew this victory was not the end. The Zalkar survivors would regroup, but they would never again dominate the galaxy unchecked. Humanity had proven something unshakable. The spirit of a species that refuses to surrender can topple empires, awaken allies, and rekindle hope even in the darkest corners of the void. She allowed herself a long breath and a small smile. The intrepid Dawn was scarred, her crew weary, and the universe still vast and dangerous. But humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars. From the ashes of despair, a new era was beginning. Freed worlds would rebuild, alliances would grow stronger, and the legend of human courage would echo across systems for generations to come. As Mara looked out at the endless stretch of stars, she felt the pulse of life returning to the galaxy. She thought of the countless human faces, alive and resilient, staring fear in the face and refusing to bow. She thought of the ships, battered but still flying, carrying hope and freedom to the oppressed. And she thought of the future, a future where humanity would never again be forgotten, never again be crushed under tyranny. From the void, we rose. She whispered, her voice steady and full of pride. When all hope faded, we came. Humanity endures, humanity shines, and humanity will never fall. Across the galaxy, systems trembled, not with fear, but with the promise of freedom. The stars seemed brighter, the void less empty, and hope, a fragile but unbreakable force, had returned. Humanity had not just survived the darkness. They had become its conqueror, and somewhere deep in the silent stretches of space, the galaxy itself seemed to exhale, finally at peace, knowing that a species that refused to surrender now stood as its guardian, its legend, and its light.